Here we've got Scum, extended Scum, Guri sighting, very exciting. Versus an 8-ship CIS list. My goodness, is CIS the theme of the day? Let me reactivate betting. We are playing Salvage Mission. Betting is open. And we are underway. Turn 1, Guri alert, exactly. Break down the list here for Captain Seahorse. Guri with Predator, Prime Thrusters, Afterburners, Electronic Baffle, and Virago for the extra shield. So 6 total hit points. Joy Rekhoff with Ion Torpedoes, Beskar Reinforced Plating. Cad Solus with Cutthroat, Beskar Reinforced Plating, and Mandalorian Optics. Leighton Ashera with Marksmanship and Shield Upgrade, and Bosk with the Deadmans and the Marksmanship. So 5-ship list. We've got DGS 047 with Kraken and the repulsorless stabilizers. Then we got some Horchal prototype with energy shells and the struts. And then the Iron Assembler with energy shells, munitions failsafe, and the struts. And then another Horchal prototype, this one with energy shells as well. I guess they're... Let me move the Horchals together. That's weird that they were out of order. And then we've got DFS 081 with energy shells and munitions failsafe. So many energy shells. DBS 404, SL. He's got the... let's see, what is on DBS 404? Advanced Proton Torpedoes, Contingency Protocol, and Strut Lock Override. TIS 347 with Fire Control System and Discord Missiles, and then Fearsome Predator and the Tri-Fighter. How about that? Marksmanship and Discord Missiles. So turn 1 is underway here. Those are your list. 5-ship Scum versus 8-ship Separatists. And I'm going to take a bite of food. Give me 1 second. I hope y'all have had a good Monday so far. Thank you for watching, hanging out with us tonight. I feel like Hexiled Gaming right now. It's just such a chill vibe. Also, because I've totally overextended myself the last couple of days, and I am hitting a wall very hard. So I do apologize if I feel a little lower energy. I am. Just a little busy. All right. Oh, just out. And that is a huge potential joust at the top right of the board. It's 5 ships, and then there's still a couple to grab crates at the bottom. It's a beautiful formation for CIS. Yeah, it's not bad. The overlay doesn't even fit. Oh my god, it doesn't. Jesus. Okay. Here you go. Everybody's here to see Guri. Yeah, I hope so. I would be. Damn straight. That's right. Something about streaming for game 3, another separatist swarm after what we just had. This is a very much a test of my willpower. All right, here we go. Round 2, exciting round 2. Guri, about to engage. We're going as fast as we can. I'm excited for this matchup this week. J-Krewz and Horse Awakens. There's some really good players in both teams. Same goes with the psychedelic Pina Jams as well. think I was muted this whole time. What I was saying was, I'm excited for this matchup because J-Krewz and the Horse Awakens both have a lot of good players. Great teams. Same thing goes for the Horse, or not the Horse Awakens, the Psychedelic Pina Jams and Crime, which we just saw game 1 of that series underway fall towards Crime. Crime wins out. So some good good matchups this week overall from the team league. You're playing Bibimbap. Crime didn't pay last week. We'll try harder this week, potentially. That's the spirit. We're just setting up blocks at this point. It'll block a 3 straight. It'll block, I think it even blocks a 2. Blocks the 2 mank. It definitely blocks a 2 straight. Did we get a coordinate? How did we get a crate and a... Oh, with Kraken. Yep. I'm running away for a second, camera-wise. I'll be back in a moment. Here comes Bosk. Get that bullseye, Bosk. He's not gonna get it. Not yet. Spoiler alert. DBS is taking one. I was gonna say it doesn't. I don't know if that makes sense, because you do that with your ability and you drop the crate. And there's all those blocks. It's a great job there by Obi-Juan. Kill Bosk dead, please. I'm gonna kill you dead. Torf would have been so clutch here. Joy Wreckoff is good. It's good ability. All right. But funny enough, Bosk is the first shot of the engagement, and he does a damage to DBS. Is stream muted or am I glitching? Not doesn't say it's muted for me. So yellow At range 0. Are you serious? Takes 2. It's lucky with the natties. And that just kills yellow straight up. Iron Assembler. Dies. You're missing bounties. No. What do you mean by missing bounties? Like, for sure I got the quick draw bounty. Probably rewatch the stream. Oh, it's two. Oh, kill 2 with bonus stacks. Yeah, you tried. Quick draw is in a really good place at 5 points. All right, now Leighton. Just going with the more defensive build here. It's the shield upgrade of marksmanship and DBS not taking any damage. But no crates grabbed by Scum here, it looks like. No shot there. I think Breach can be cheaper. Malrus is really truly worth like 3.5 points. It just made her 4 for now. With like 12 loadout, so you can put a pretty good build on Malrus if you want to for 4. But in terms of just like big picture stuff, FO is probably like the most fair. If you go line by line and look at every ship. Kylo at 6 would be tough. Like Silencer Kylo at 7, he's a 6.5er, I think. Wilo is more of a 5.5er. He's closer to 6 than he is to 5 in terms of value, in my opinion. Punishers are fun, but they're so easy to block. I'm here. I have food, so I just don't want y'all to stare at me eating, you know. So CAD takes 2. Finally getting some damage thrown these fangs. Taking a few shots. And now range 1. Does CAD still have a focus? I don't think it was spent. CAD does have Beskar though, so you should be fine. And then Beskar, and you don't take any damage. There it is. X-Wing bums me out right now. Yeah, I get it. I mean, what bums me out is the fact that, like, the future of the game in terms of organized play just, like, won't be a thing, like, from, like, a company. But, man, I think... we shouldn't feel bummed that, like, we're not... That we were being strung along, and I don't think we should be bummed that, like, finally... It's like somebody that... It's easier to rip off the Band-Aid, right? It's like going through a breakup, honestly. It's like that weird feeling you have for a while after you go through a breakup. And just kind of processing and feeling kind of numb. And like, that's the thing, was like, we just kind of went through a big breakup with a game that we all had like a relationship with for so long. But, you know, once you start to talk to yourself about the opportunities, you know, it's like, oh, maybe you'll meet someone, or, you know, it's like I'll meet someone better, or something, you know, a situation that's better for me that will end up working out. It's just hard to see right now. And I think that's where we're at. It's just hard. It's hard to feel that way. It's hard to see it. But I mean, the whole committee announcement, I think is gonna, for most people, the reception's been good. I'm a part of that. I won't play a direct role in like specific decisions as much as just trying to help like support and market it and stuff, and give my 2 cents on certain things that I feel I should actually weigh in on. But yeah, dude, AMG is just not that into you. Okay, it's just not that into you. But it really is like an analogy that actually works, I think, right? It's just like how it feels when a relationship is severed. And as somebody who has been in the situation where you kind of see the end of a relationship coming, it's even a weirder feeling, because you're like, you know, in the moment you're fine, but you know it's not going to be fine. And we finally saw that post, and it's like, okay, finally. It's like, at least it's there. Your heart sinks a little bit, because you're just like, I can't believe I'm actually seeing this. We just keep so much speculation about, is the game dead? Is the game dead? Is the game dead? How do you feel about the game? Is the game dead? Is it actually dead? Is it actually dead? Maybe they're working on 3.0. Maybe there will be an expansion. Maybe they're just waiting on news, and just, you know, it's like, now we know. It's finally. So. Yeah, I mean, Armada players probably gave up on AMG 2 years ago. It is funny that they lumped Armada into their press release, because it was like, what are you talking about? Like, they stopped supporting Armada a while ago. Closure is the word, yes. Well, what would have been closure? What would have, the kind of closure that I want is for them to say, we should have been better. We were disappointed, and I mean, though they would never, none of this would ever happen, but for them to say, yeah, we just didn't really like X-Wing that much, or didn't really care about it that much. Is that closure? Is that more I told you so? Like, I knew it. My hairline is bigger after AMG kills X-Wing. Yeah, mine's not. I like the fact that Starwing goes canceled. I know we got it, but don't you think they should have followed through on that one? Like, I feel like once you announce a product, I mean, you would think that when you announce a product that it's well along or pretty much done on its development cycle, or close to it. You know, would have been nice to get that, but nope. X-Wing 3.0 Community Edition, yep. I didn't even think about that, the irony of that. Probably because I don't want to think about the irony of that. Let me give these two their much deserved scenario points. Oh, I did. Well, should be, it is 2-2. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So I have no idea why the YT-2400 is a ship they decided to release. Well, I guess it was just further along its development cycle that it was easier that they had to release it, and maybe the Star Wing they were able to stop in production early enough to not lose as much money, is like my speculation. That seems pretty fair. Ready for Gurry to do some work. Let's go, Gurry. Was the when people say AMG didn't develop a single ship expansion, they just mean like their own, right? Not like because the YT was just a redesign. Is that where we're distinguishing that? Is not counting. Yeah, they probably decided to sunset the game a year ago. But you know, as I work in higher ed, and when we sunset a program, you know, you start to go through all the preparations of it, and then you take 6 months to a year, and then you announce you're sunsetting it, and then you let everyone else in that program who's already in it graduate, and then you close it. But that takes a long time. Not that it's anything similar, but in terms of deciding to sunset it and then us knowing a year later, you know, why it would take that long? Because that's just the way it goes. It's like when I bought the Scum Falcon, like if I had known how bad the Scum Falcon was, it's the same way I look at like the YT-2400. If they ever fix the escape pod, it might even be good again. I mean, define good, I guess. Like Scum Falcon, you would see the Scum Falcon Whether you could see Lando or Han. Now you just see Han if someone's bold enough to take it at all. Although I will say the games that I stream with the Scum Falcon, like, tends to perform okay. It's not, you know, an overwhelming in performance by any means, but it's just and at 6 points it seems, you know, costed okay. I mean, there's almost an argument to be made for like some of them to be 5. It's just a bad platform and a bad faction. But is that the road you go down? I don't know. I think overall it's just you can't. Points changes don't necessarily fix bad, like the issues with something that makes it bad. It just allows it to be less of a feels bad when you lose it in a list, just in terms of the sunk cost. He does need, I mean, he can get, with Lando's title, you can at least get the extra die if somebody's stressed, but then you do need to line up obstructed shots, and therefore he's kiting a lot around engagements and getting into awkward spots. So, but on our streams, where people bring weird shit because they want to, he's been fun to watch. I mean, the last game with Jammin that will be public on YouTube soon, in a few days, was a great example of how fun it can be to watch that kind of, to see Han played and also use his ability a couple times. It can be good for entertainment purposes, I guess. So great, the ability gets her focus, and there's 4. 3 hits and a crit. And Fearsome Predator taking hit crit. There's a damage sensor array. Uh-oh. Or rather, this is DIS 347. Apologies. Yeah, you don't have to mansplain to me what good means. Competitively, it needs to be something that can contribute to winning games. That's one issue that I think I think I'm right when I say this. My fat ego, as big as my forehead, but I think we're at this point. We have been at this point for a long time where things are just good. They're obviously good, and there's bad, and then there's like a little bit of middle ground where it's like this could be good enough, but there's a very clear threshold that's way too wide about stuff that's just like, don't bother. And you'll never be in a meta where, you know, more than, I don't even know what percentage, you'll never be in a meta where 75% of your choices are potentially viable in terms of competitive capabilities. But it definitely is shallow with the choices that we have, especially specific factions have more variety. Like, to be good, Empire with the new expansion, Rebels are 2 more prime examples. But like, to me, it's like with FO, it's like you're taking the same usual suspect FO pilots, the same couple of SFs, and YO. If you're bringing a silencer, you can, you know, you might see Blackout, but it's usually Kylo. You don't see the other silencers. All right, what did I miss here? I need extra damage. 81 with a disabled power regulator. Yeah, I mean, the answer right now is to make things just super cheap. So, like, when I'm looking at... When I look at, like, I mean, Edrio is a great example. It's like, I just would like to see... I think from a game developer perspective too, if they see that there's only a couple of pilots of all the options, like of like 10 options only ever getting played and no one's even getting looked at, it's like, okay, well, what do I do to try to make these pilots like a part of a meta or a part of, like, you know, list building consideration? So it's yeah, is Edrio, should Edrio be 3 points? No, probably not. Will he get played at 4? He was already 4. I mean, do you just pile on a ton of loadout? You're still taking an I2 T65. Great, you have all this loadout, but you get initiative killed, or you get a terrible crit sunk into you like a blinded pilot or whatever, and that doesn't matter then. So the answer is right now, to patch the leaky boat is just to make things dirt cheap, where people are going to say, power creep, this is too cheap. What are you doing? Or pile on loadout for things. It's like, it's also another like band-aid fix. It's like, yes, I think certain things should just have more loadout because it's obvious. I've all cited bombers and like things that, you know, are like munitions carriers being able to take like bombs and munitions and have the loadout for it. But then like there are other chassis that are just not outfitted to be that kind of, play that kind of role in the game. For example, like an A-Wing pilot. Cool. You gave an A-Wing 18 loadout. You give it a shield upgrade and a talent, but what are you going to put outmaneuver on there? You're going to be able to really, you know, in a game where there's so many ships, be able to maximize your loadout value. I mean, you're welcome to. I was a little triggered the other day when you and I were having our back and forth on Zam. I mean, I went back and just changed Zam's points to what it was before. So I mean, you know the game very well, so I'm definitely happy to listen or debate, even if it's not a debate right now. It's just a conversation. That's the way I'm not getting the vibe that you're debating me at all. It's just an open conversation. It just feels weird because you're in chat and I'm literally here talking to you through a microphone, right? So it's just like, can feel different. But Guri takes a console fire. No Guri. I don't disagree with that. I think one thing is like when, which is a trap that I think a lot of people, when they want to do their own points update or homebrew things, are going to fall into, is they're going to just try to buff a lot of things that just haven't seen a lot of play, and then just nerf very specific things. And ideally, I think fundamentally, here's where I start with this conversation. I believe that the 20-point scale is inherently setting us up to fail in a lot of ways. You suggest just like keeping things, instead of making something 1 point cheaper to make them like an obvious choice versus unplayable, just giving them a lot of loadout. I think that's definitely a step in the right direction. But I don't think it really solves, if it depends on what your intent is. If your intent is to make people actually look at all these different pilots and seriously consider them putting in lists, I don't think piling on loadout is enough when initiative is still so important. Double mod abilities are more important, because like look at some of these abilities too that they have. They're either nothing burgers or they're just not very good, or just, you know, mid, as the kids say. So I mean, I think so. Then where do you go from there? I think you revisit, like, is there a 30 or 40 point scale perhaps, where you can start to actually implement the situations where people say that's a 3.5 point pilot, that's a 4.5 point pilot, it's a 5.5 point pilot, because there's a plenty of things that exist in that like middle ground between the next whole number. I don't think objectives are the problem. I actually think objectives are strategically a good part of the game, so I wouldn't vouch for getting rid of them. 40-point scale gets you 50% back to the back towards what made 200-point list building good. It'd be a step in the right direction in terms of better balance. And I think this conversation is actually context that I would advise a lot of people who have knee-jerk reactions to when they see a 2-point FO, TIE fighter, which again, all of this stuff is reasonable to have strong opinions about, either hating it or whatever. Or a 3-point T65, or a 4-point U-Wing, as like I make K2SO 4-point center points, right? Is that it's like you either, like, you have to understand that this is just, we're just a little stuck. Like K2SO at 5 points, like why any of the U-Wings? The U-Wings have always been very solid, right? But there's just other choices that are better. But when you go to 40-point scale, you can really differentiate between the value of a lower initiative calculating U-Wing versus one that's stronger at a higher initiative that can, could take more, better crew or have better slots. But now the choices we have are, yes, you can manipulate slots, you can manipulate loadout, or you just make something a point cheaper than the others because it is just pound for pound worse. And you would like to see people put it in a list. But there's a conflict of interest between, it just doesn't, casually you say, I want to see, on the casual side of things, you want to see certain pilots actually get played again. On the competitive side of things, that's not enough of a, that's not a good justification for it, because that doesn't coincide with balance at all, or rarely does. I'd happy play a 6-point Fen with 20 loadout. Yeah, I talked to Cam Murray about Fen, and we talked about the Mandalorian, we talked about Fen. And I was like, okay, well, Rebel Fen Rao has a, obviously a less offensive ability to Scum Fen Rao, and Scum Fen Rao is much better in that regard. But Rebel Fen Rao is 5 points and is in a faction that's thriving. Scum is in a faction that is, what is the opposite of thriving? Diving. So then do you make adjustments, aggressive adjustments based on how bad a faction is? Purely to just try to get more people to play the faction? That's also a problem. Can be a problem. I think Scum Fen at 5 with 6 loadout is probably one of the less concerning in a vacuum things to demo, but especially again, keeping in mind the average ship count being 5 or 6 ships right now, usually 5. I like how they drive the game forward. I just don't like how there's just so many more layers. We were talking about on our podcast, and Sam was talking about how he's just tried a couple of games of 2.0 because he didn't really play much 2.0 at all, and he's just like, it was just so much more simple and easy for him to set everything up and play. And it is really like going through the gauntlet when you play a full day of 2.5 X-Wing with all the added layers that you have to keep track of and kind of forecast in your head versus 2.0, where you just had to focus on your win conditions being the dogfighting aspect of the game. You're saying things I don't disagree with. Like, honestly, I just don't really know what to say. Like, I think it really more so skews towards just like getting a pilot some playtime right now is where my head is at, and then handing that off to people to play around with, and then getting the feedback, and then just making the adjustments from there. I don't, not to say that anybody thinks this, but I think there's almost this idea that, wow, this exact nature of points that I'm seeing, this alternative form of points, is final and won't be changed. Like, all that stuff could just go back, or like K2 could go back to 4. You could get more loadout. Like, you know, if we look at the U-Wings overall and you want all the U-Wings to be more played, then you have to really start to dissect. You start to get really crafty with the slots that they have in the loadout, and then hope that that's enough for people to care. I dropped down Turfineer to 3 to match Larier's point cost, because then you get another option at 3 points, but then, you know, Turfineer at 3 I can see. I actually think AMG could have, that's a change that AMG could have, like, if AMG made another points change, that kind of decision is something I could see them making. It depends on how many game reports I get, Manny. Like, if I get like 10 games with FO and everyone's saying the exact same thing, then I can make up my mind on that. But I won't do knee-jerk changes just because one person likes it, dislikes it, or whatever. People they haven't been mean about it, but they've been very emotional about it. Like, I feel like there's some folks on like Reddit and stuff are like acting like this is like finite, you know, like, you know, doom and gloom, that I'm like doing something like burn their house down or something. It's just like, dude. And honestly, I think a part of it is just the wound is too fresh for people with AMG. But again, we've anticipated this for a while, so I don't know if it's a reasonable enough excuse to be so tied up to that breakup with AMG. If we all have kind of felt the vibe for a year now, heading in this direction, it's just being strung along, and that's what we're still processing. Somebody ate it over here, I think. The fearsome pred. My gamekeeping has been awful the last couple games. I apologize. We should be updated on damage. Well, I'm doing this stuff alone, and I could have more time to do it. I'm giving myself, you know, like, I'm dedicating a decent amount of time to it, but I'm not a developer, man. I'm not getting paid to do it. If I was getting paid or something, I would probably spend a lot more time, but I've been overextending myself. So this is the easiest way to give people something to be excited about that could also be informative, that also allows me to be able to get sleep at night and eat dinner before 10 p.m. every night. Overextending myself is not your problem, but it's just kind of the way it is right now. Like, if it was my duty by the committee to like take their points and have them tested, or to be the one that decides the points, then I would be spending a ton of time on it, and I would not be the only one doing it. But if you want to keep playing the official points that are super stale, I mean, absolutely go for it. I think that's really just where we're at right now, until we get a more comprehensive strategy from the larger group of people. You're stuck with your boy over here. Is a fuel leak. I'm not sure what's going on. Curry's crits are console and wounded, I think. Yeah. We got the shot now into Guri. That's the thing. No, you're right though. Several awful points update, because like that's the thing, is that like that's probably from like the betterment of the game sustainably long term and the overall balance. You just like nerf, or you just nerf like everything. But that's like not gonna get. It's not gonna get people. My job is to get people excited and engaged, and to like play and join our Discord and like be a part of the community and grow our community, and like, you know. And so if this points change like allows people to get excited about certain things, and it's like, well, excitement doesn't mean, you know, balance. Who fucking cares, right? Like, for me, my best interest is to like, I mean, I care about balance, but I can't hand over a document to the community that is just a bunch of just all nerfs, all red highlights. And even to get to that point, I would need to, if to do it correctly, need to spend a ton of free time doing it. No, you're right. You like nail on the head. I have like ulterior motives in terms of, you know, trying to like inject what I think balance wise could work in terms of like, you know, steps in the right direction, but also like fostering a community and getting people to like get excited about the game. My job right now is to get people to stay and to be excited about something. Like Coggins earlier is like, oh my god, it's so exciting to just have a builder with new points. And as much as that seems like a nothing burger, like that's a perfect example of like why that level of fulfillment is something that's important to me, because he's excited, he's playing, he's and honestly, you can easily make the argument now that almost every game that we play that is casual, it means literally nothing. So DGS's shot, I think I was into Joy. Most people have been grateful. Like one person, I had this interesting exchange with somebody on from our Facebook page who had messaged me, and I had missed the message at first. And they messaged me about V2, and they were like, why is Zam's, you know, 9 points? Or the CIS players have been very vocal, because the CIS players are, you know, they want their identity back. And, you know, I told him, it's like, oh, hey, like, you know, is this based on the newest one that I posted? There's some, you know, I made some mistakes with version 2, and I wasn't satisfied with certain things. So I went back and made some additional tweaks, like, and refined a few things. And he's like, oh, wow, like, I really appreciate you, you know, responding in such a warm way, because I was just out of the gate complaining about things I didn't like. And I was like, well, that's how we are as humans. Like, it's fine. He wasn't being an ass, but, you know, he's like guns blazing, just like, hey, I'm confused. What are you doing here? What is this? I don't like this. It's not, if only it were that simple, Mike. It's definitely not. Just take the official values of the 200-point system. What are the, are there official values of a 2 point? Do you mean like the unofficial legacy group? I haven't really got up to snuff with them. My mom was texting me about flight times. August 5th. Yeah, but yeah, as Catherine said, if only it were that easy. And that's really what it comes down to. It's just like, oh, like you're just doing something that's easy and you don't have to think too hard about it. It's like, well, I thought a bit about it. I wasn't, you know, just off the cuff, just throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks with what I did. But like, yeah, I mean, we have like a whole coalition arguing, debating, trying to align on things just to be able to decide what our next steps are, to decide how we handle, to decide the points changes. Like, it is bigger than all of us. And I'm glad, because this stuff is so complicated. And at the end of the day, X-Wing isn't even a very good competitive game when it comes to balancing. That's not going to be a deflection or a total cop-out, but like, I think Ryan Farmer said it a few years ago, just about how X-Wing in its nature there, or I think it was D-Yoon from the Fly Better podcast, just talking about all the variables in X-Wing that competitively just make it really not a game you can optimize very well for competitive play across like all factions. So that's where that's why a meta exists, right? Where things are clearly strong and things are clearly not strong. I mean, again, like the conversations have been really great. About just from people who haven't been playing for a while, people that are, you know, super committed, everything, right? Like, I know I appreciate the folks who are even willing to try out our points despite them, you know, probably wanting to go back to a 200-point system, and here you are with an unofficial points update for a 20-point system that a lot of us aren't super passionate about, but there's still like, it's still something new and something different that they're willing to try. And that's really the intention, and the faith behind that is what's going to get us to be able to unify around like what's coming, is just having good faith. Because the amount of people who see like one change they don't like and be like, this is garbage. And I think that comes from the frustration of maybe playing a faction that you've locked yourself into. You don't play anything else and you are frustrated with. But, you know, your faction can't get all the toys and every other faction loses all their toys. I know I'm like kind of preaching to the choir when I'm talking about this stuff, but it's just it's still very interesting to me. So we're officially starting turn 5. It's 7-7. And Guri did take 1 more damage, so she's officially down. Took 2 more damage to 1 hole. That's 7 points out there. Yeah, I mean, I made Guri 6 points. I think Guri works at 6. She just needs to lose loadout so she can't do Virago and shield upgrade. If she does do that, she wouldn't be able to do much else. 7 points for Guri is intense. Like, you're putting her up against Rey, Poe. She's more expensive than Vader's, 2 more points than Luke's, 2 more than Wedge's. I'm preaching to the choir again. Are you gonna fix the YT 2400? Dude. There's some core design flaws, I think, with the sensor blackout was a mistake. The ability to roll an extra die is nice for attack, like 3 dice native gun is fine. Sensor blackout, by sensor black, I just meant like, it's a mistake for defense. Rolling one less die for defense is what I meant. Not for attack. Although I think it's less imperative to have sensor blackout when you already are a 3-dice gun. Well, Guri's an I5, so making her 5 is challenging, I think, but she's probably closer to 5.5 than she is to 6.5. Give advanced sensors back. Oh my gosh. With Road, I mean, advanced sensors in 2.5 isn't even that good. The thing that made advanced sensors Guri so good was that you had all this perfect information with bidding and everything. So, I mean, I don't think she should have it back, but it wouldn't be busted. And that's banned, isn't it? Yeah, advanced sensors is like banned. Can move it to the system phase. She just needs to get that focus. She's got to get that focus. That's the other thing that can absolutely hinder her immediately. She's got 5-6 health. But if she's only able to calculate because she's not near any enemies. I don't know. I think the chill track ran out and we have it's apt for the conversation. Some random creepy violin music. It should reset the music. Jazz Nights. Nice. See how Obi-Wan's ships are doing here. So red, sorry, the dice cam is back on. Red is damaged. Green takes 1. Red takes 1. There we go. I was like confused. I apologize for those that watch this game back. It's going to be a lot more of me focusing on the chat and less on the game, but we've had plenty. I've had sitting here alone. It's difficult to stay engaged with the game when you have 13 ships on the board. It's just for 3 games. It can be difficult to stay focused. But we all get to see what's happening. I just update the overlay in a very delayed and poor manner. So win-lose. Yeah, shoot at the buzz droids. There you go. Buzz droid's gonna die. Rolls a natural evade. I think Scum is like 1 damage away from disaster. DBS takes another. DBS has taken a couple. know why the music is stopping. TBS could kill himself for the bounty now, yeah. Do it. Yeah, you're fine. And that's it. Oh no, Guri. Girl. $14-7. 7 points. And now against a droid list, you just like, it just takes like so much to be able to get back in this game. Yeah, Ray 3 T70s, there you go. I guess before you could do Ray, Commander Poe. You would need a 3-pointer. You could have 2 T70s and like, I mean, well, Lulo is 4 points though, right? Or is, yeah. Yeah, I like the idea of Poe becoming more versatile than just a Protorp carrier. And Commander Poe is an interesting piece to look at. I would argue that Commander Poe should be 5 points if you compare him to other 5-point meta pieces, especially Luke. Which Plasma Torps are just like, they have their place because they can still be very good, but there are plenty of meta lists that either have little to no shields as well, so it's just like, Poe is just, you know, firing a different 3-dice gun. It just depends on if they have shields or not. Give Tally a cannon slot. Well, I don't know. Greer Sonal is 3 points now in our points. ZZ's 4. Sir Linda's 3. Sir Linda can take HLC. So 16-7. The game is pretty much over. You know, it's bad when like the beat writers for the Chicago Cubs have to tell players to stop, or to tell fans to stop wishing their players would get injured. You know, you're down bad when your fan base is resorting to that kind of behavior. That is the internet is a place. So I actually think like Manny. So I think on first glance, you that list, Poe, Ray, which Death Ray and Poe have always been very formidable, and then two more, and then Elo and Temin. So that's an I6 and two I5s and an I4, 4-ship list. It's I'm intrigued by it because I think on the surface you look at that and like that's ridiculous power level. I actually don't. I think with all other variables, it's matchups, it's scenarios, it's initiatives, road, that it might not be too good. But that's a great example of like something that if you had the time to bring to good games and try against someone else who's trying these points, I would love to see how that kind of game would go, or hear how that kind of game would go. And you know, it's good to know, like, is Poe, is Commander Poe always going to need to be 6 points? Is Trigger Happy Flyboy Poe always going to need to be 7 points? Point of a beta is to test things, so. Tally with HLC is a thought for sure. Doesn't sound too gross. That a bullseye ability of hers is solid too. Mom just texted me 6-3 Cubs, and I just immediately said, they'll blow it. Yeah, that was hit pretty far. Yeah, exactly. That was the thought. And he is more boring. He could take overdrive thrusters, but if he's overdriving, he's almost always like running away. And this is a damage race game right now. So how often can you afford your 6 or 7 point ships, in this case 6, to be disengaging? That's interesting too, Matt. Yeah, I appreciate everyone that's been talking to me about what they've noticed and been honest and open, and it's fun. As challenging as it is sometimes to read somebody on Reddit say that these are these are untouchable, these are dreadful. That was the word, dreadful, which is like, okay, as challenging as it is to read that because your name is tied to it, or the work that you put into is tied to somebody's opinion on that. Like, I do appreciate that people have just been like, I think this is too good, or just haven't been using such language. I think it's one thing to get really riled up when the studio dictates what's good and bad, and you have a problem with that because you're stuck with that for a long time. This is the Wild West right now. Thought experiments, buff and nerf choices, questions that we'd like to answer. I think it's exciting. Even if something might seem broken, cool. Like, let's bend it, let's break it. The goal isn't to break things, but, if something ends up being broken. Oh, Cad uses his ability, dude. There are 2 focuses. What's fun is Cad Solus having a damage engine. He does like a 1 or 3 hard and gets 2 focuses. I always enjoyed that. Jesus, that's a nasty shot. That was into DGS. Are they not range 0? Hit shield, hit crit, fuel leak with these guys' prices. You can see how behind I am with some of the damage. So many ships. I think this is Bosk. Oh, there's a crit. Oh, split it up, baby. Let's go. I think you don't. Yeah, he is going to split it. I was going to say, you can trigger a direct hit and a fuel leak could kill, but you just... No, he is going to do it. Oh, it's another fuel leak. Amazing. DGS is still alive. Oh, I was saying that I think that list on the surface could seem really scary, but with the neutered points that Commander Poe has and his ability only working every other turn, and scenarios and initiative factoring in with like Temen, I think that list could I would be really curious to see how that list would perform if you end up being able to bring it to good games next time you play X-Wing. I would be really curious. I don't think it's necessarily too good, is what I was saying. Good night, Matt. Love you, buddy. Spend everything. Right now, 18-7, and that's going to be game. As we hit time. So, blowout here for CIS. That's 2 games back-to-back with blowouts on behalf of CIS, although the last game was a blowout because both sides were CIS. Very interesting. All right.